Today we're going to talk about hammer-ons and pull-offs and how to get them a little bit cleaner. Stick around. Hello everyone, it's James from Practice Like a Pro, providing you with simple clear guitar tips to help you on your guitar playing journey. So today we're going to talk about hammer-ons and pull-offs and how we can get a little bit of a cleaner sound. It's a common complaint among students learning tunes like Sweet Home Alabama and other kind of rocky riffs that they can't seem to get the hammer-ons or the pull-offs as clean as the picked notes. So I'm just going to break it down for you. First, we're going to use the open E minor pentatonic. So I'll just put that on the screen for you quickly. For the first two exercises, we're going to use that as a framework. So let's take the first two notes of the scale, which is the 0 on the low E, and then the 3rd fret on the same string. So you've got 0, 3. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to pick the open string, and I want to get that 3rd fret to ring out without me having to pick the note again. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to press it down with my fretting hand on that 3rd fret, but I don't know if you can see, I'm not even picking the first note. And can you see how I'm getting a nice clean note? Now, just as you were fretting a regular note, I want you to make sure that you're in the middle of the fret. You know, you sort of see where the dot is on my fretboard. I'm sort of aiming for the middle. And a common mistake that a lot of people make with hammer-ons is they're too gentle. You're not going to hurt anything. Can you see how I'm taking a good run up to that? So putting the two parts together, I want you to pick the open string and then hammer onto the 3rd fret. And again, you should be using the very, very tip of your finger. And I'm happy for you to use your 2nd or your 3rd finger here, whichever's more comfortable. So then it's just a case of rinse and repeat through the scale. So you can either use your 1st and your 2nd finger for this, or you can use fingers 2 and 3. I don't mind either way. I won't worry about damaging your guitar. Your finger's going to let you know before your guitar is that you're hitting it too hard, so just kind of go off on that. Hammer-ons and pull-offs would be a lot easier on an electric guitar because they've got thinner strings, but to be honest, just use what you've got. So once we get to the bottom of that scale, what we're going to try and do now is come back up and try and do it in pull-offs. With pull-offs, the best way that I can describe it is, let's go to the high E string and we'll do the 3rd fret on the high E followed by the open string. Now I want you to pick that 3rd fret and then literally pull off the string. Now what a lot of people do is they just let go. They'll just let go of the string. And you get it a little bit. Try and sort of egg that on a little bit by dragging your finger off the string. Now, you don't have to be really dramatic about it, but you want your finger to kind of slip off the string. It's a bit of a balancing act, really. You've got to think about, you want to pluck the string with your left hand by dragging it off the string to make it ping. Now, I'm being quite dramatic so that you can see what I'm doing, but as you go up through the strings, you just want to be careful that you're not bending the string before you pull off it. It's a bit of a... You're sort of wanting your finger to slip off the string. And I'm coming at it from an angle. I'm not sort of just lifting my finger off. I'm pulling the string ever so slightly. So just as before, you're just going to work down the scale. But as you sort of get to the middle of the fretboard, it's really, you've got to be a little bit more precise with your pull-offs because you don't want to pull off a note and then catch all the strings with your finger that you're pulling off with. We don't want that. We want... It's more like a little flick as opposed to a really grand stroke. Obviously, for the purposes of today, I've got to make it really obvious, but nice, small, incremental movements. Let's glue both parts together. example of pull-offs in open position is something like the turnaround in Sweet Home Alabama. That's a great example if you want something to get your teeth into. Now that we've learnt the fundamentals, let's move it up the neck a bit. So we're going to stick with the minor pentatonic because everybody loves the minor pentatonic. We're going to do it in the key of A, so A minor pentatonic, we all know. I'll put it on the screen, we should all know this shape by now. It gets a little bit more complicated now because you've got 2 fretted notes per string, and you'll find out that the open position did a lot of the heavy lifting as to sort of stretches and things like that. So let's take the first 2 notes. So we've got the 5th fret on the E string, and then we've got the 8th fret on the E string. Now I want to use my index finger and my pinky for those 2 notes. Now instead of picking both notes with a down and an upstroke like you should be doing in your practice, I want you to pick with a downstroke and hammer on to that 8th fret. It's a really common theme in guitar that your little finger never does as it's told, and it always takes that little bit of extra effort to get your little finger to do what you want it to. And this is a great exercise for that. It's really important that you use your pinky for that 8th fret and not your 3rd finger, because I don't want you to sort of pull something in your wrist. So just for the sake of today and this exercise, I want you to use your pinky for me. So what we're going to do, we're going to press the 5th fret, and as I'm hammering on, I want to keep the pressure on that 5th fret even past the point my pinky's made contact with the fret. Can you see how I'm still pressing both notes down? Now it's a little bit of a balancing act to then get the 5th fret for the next string ready. Now if you try and sort of dance between the 2, you can kind of make it happen, but it's not as clean. And you'll find that you're missing them. We want nice clean. Once you've finished both notes on the string before you progress to the next one, you should have 2 points of contact on the same string, which is the 5th, in this case, the 5th fret and the 8th fret, before you move to the next one. Keeping that 5th fret pressed down as you move into the 8 will keep it, it keeps it what we call legato, which means smooth. We want. You'll feel like your range of motion's restricted by having that first finger on the 5th fret all the way through the scale, and that's where the challenge really comes, because you need to get a good run up, but you can't you don't get a head start. We take what we've learnt on the low E string and we just continue through the minor pentatonic scale. So on the low E string you've got 5 and 8. Moving on to the A, you've got 5 and 7. Onto the D, you've got 5, 7 again. Same on the G. And then for the B and the high E, we're back to 5, 8, 5, 8. Just as we did with the E minor pentatonic, as we're coming backwards, we're going to do everything that we've done in reverse. So you're going to go. Now, when you're pulling off and you're fretting and you're sort of out of open position, you need to have that 5th fret ready for you to pull off onto. You can't sort of skip. Think of it in reverse of what we've just talked about with hammering on through the scale. So I'm going to press the 8th fret of the high E string with my pinky, and I'm going to press the 5th fret of the high E string at the same time. This feels really counterintuitive to players because I always tell students not to press two of the same frets on the same string, but just bear with me because it'll make your life a lot easier. So I'm pressing the 5th fret and the 8th fret with my first finger and my pinky on the high E string. I'm going to play the 8th fret, and then I'm going to drag my pinky off the string for it to kind of ping over to the 5th fret. If you try that for me. And that's basically what we're going to do all the way back up. I don't know if you can see it when I'm playing that as soon as I move to the next string, my index finger's sort of kind of following in tow, and it's sort of just ahead of where it needs to be. and you sort of edging your bets a little bit. You sort of reading ahead a little bit. It's kind of like if you're sight reading and you kind of read ahead ever so slightly so you know what's coming. Think of it like that. You will feel like your range of motion's restricted, like we did with the hammer-ons when you're playing in a different position other than the open. It's just you get more confident over time with it, and it is going to feel a bit clunky and a bit strange. You'll remember when you were trying to learn how to do upstrokes, it felt really strange and really clunky and that you'd never get it, but over time it started to make a little bit more sense. This is a similar kind of thing. I talk about practicing on the couch all the time. This is a great exercise that you can do kind of unplugged on an electric guitar or just quietly in the corner while you're watching television, just coming up and down scales. And it's another great way to practice scales. You're practicing your hammer-ons and pull-offs and you're going over your scale shapes as well. So where do you go from here? Well, what you could do is you could go through all the scales that you've got sort of up here or that you're working on in your one-to-one lessons or in your own study, and try and play the scales in hammer-ons and pull-offs. So you could do it with a natural minor scale. That one's a little bit more challenging because you've got 3 notes on most of the on most of the strings, but really scale it to where you're at, and that's where you're going to see the most improvement in guitar. If you can kind of skew any of these exercises that I teach on YouTube to where you're at. How are you getting on with those hammer-ons and pull-offs? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the lesson today and you'd like to see some more from us, please do consider subscribing. We upload 3 lessons a week and we're getting a great response from a small but growing community. And over here, if you want to learn something else, we've got some other lessons for you to check out. Thank you very much for watching, and until I see you next time, keep practicing like a pro.